All right, see what we got. All right, I think we needed more holes. That's okay. Let's give it another go. Screw it, it's already gone wrong. Why not try something a little bit funky? All right, let's see. That looks a bit crazy, but we're experimenting. Hey, that has kind of worked. Hello and welcome, or welcome back. It's been a while since I've been, or my face has been on the channel. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're a returner. Check that out. I didn't think you could do marble without the airbrush with the baby wipe technique. As you've seen, my first attempt didn't really work. My second attempt did though. So what we are doing in this tutorial, I am gonna impart that wisdom for you. There's 4 simple steps you can follow, base coating tips and colors, the actual baby wipe usage, how you make the holes in it, how you wrap it around your stuff, how you put it in the right place, that type of stuff, what colors and how you put them on over the baby wipe, and then finally, the 4th bit, some finishing steps to kind of tie a bow around everything and make it work for you. Good news, it is easier than you think. I have failed, especially for you, so there's some things to not do and there's some things to do. 2 things I would like you to do for me. Number 1, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, but most importantly, go down to the comments below. Either make a comment of your own suggesting a future video or like other marble colors. Do you want me to do like blue marble? Or just pick another technique that you thought was complicated you want me to break down for army painting simply as possible, because this is far more simple than you think. You just got to hit the right checkpoints on the way. You'll smash it out of the park. Also, on screen probably now, screenshotable, is this resource that I've made for you to make following this as easy as possible. I've edited this video, by the way, so if you have constructive feedback, I just wanted it out in time for you Horus Heresy painters. Do pop it below, but make it idiot proof because technology isn't my forte. I'll save that for the painting. Okay, so in the clip that you're going to see coming up, we're talking about base coating. Importantly here, you want it dark, but not too dark. You don't want to use thick paint, especially drifting against your trim. It'll just look bad later on. You need that trim to look crisp and separate from your marble. We're going to be using wet blending here. There's no need or time for subtlety. And if you're stippling, just feel free to be very, very aggressive with it. Straight in, straight out, no smearing around. I am firmly blue tacked onto my egg. It's quite an aggressive technique. Let's get a dampening pad on the go and we will be good to start. So, you're not really rewarded for subtlety in this stage, so we're just looking to get a solid flat base coat via whatever mean you like. You could airbrush it, you could layer it, you could stipple it. But then on top of that, we're going to get in some variation. Okay, I'm going to start jumping between our different colors. Most of our variation is going to come from having that little bit of gold in there though, which is pretty special. So when I've taken quite a lot off my brush, you do need quite a, our brushes are quite resilient and I'm using a large one, so it's extra resilient. You need a kind of stiff one. This is a little bit of a back and forth process, so just gonna have a play until I'm happy. I'm not putting down thick paint at any point here, so I don't have to worry about that. It's quite an aggressive motion, but not overloading anything. Cool, good enough. Easier than you think up to now? Let's see, it continues being pretty easy. Okay, baby wipes. The wiggling is super important. You'll see that coming up. Tease it open and open the holes further than you think you need, especially if you've done the technique before with the airbrush. You got to leave more room to manually get the paint through rather than like blowing it through. Just as important as getting the holes right is getting them in the right place. So think about where you are placing your holes. Think strategically. Are they over your trim? Is a cool bit in a good place to access? And then make sure your baby wipe is as tight as possible to your piece. You'll see me tweaking. Elastic band, tape, whatever you need, just get it as tight as possible and then get it even tighter and then secure it in place, and do not leave anything kind of like trailing out like tape, because I already chucked one of these on the floor by accident because it stuck to my hand while I was moving it around. The best way that I found to kind of open things up is to stretch it from as many directions as possible and just wiggle. You'll see that opening a little bit more each time I do that. I have had an idea too, so we're going to get, oh, can I do it on an egg? All right, that looks like it has potential. So you could use an elastic band, you could tape it in a different way. To me, just whatever works for you. You just need it to be as tight as possible. What I like about taping it like this is you can tape it and then pull the tape down a little bit, and that might tighten it even further. Do not leave your tape trailing out so it can get stuck on something, because it can be really easy to just like hook it on your finger and then you end up knocking over the entire thing. Okay, stippling time. This gets a little bit more in depth, but it's no more complicated. You just have some more steps to go through. So you're going to be stippling your lighter colors down now. Aggressive, you're stippling, be aggressive. You can even pinch your bristles in your big firm brush to get them in there. Do not use a tiny brush or one without many bristles, or a GP one. You'll just massacre it on the way to getting the technique, and it's not worth it. So I've used a large for this, and I've pinched the bristles at some points just to really get it in there. Go beyond your trim. Do not kind of paint inside your piece, like inside this section. Go all the way over it and past the edges. You want to paint it like it's part of a big whole. If you just paint it in the middle, it'll look really wrong. It'll look like you're trying to, like, I don't know, edge highlight it or shade it in the middle or something. That's not what we're going for here. Finally, it's absolutely okay to go up all the way to white here. You can always glaze it back down and it might even end up better. So don't be afraid of that. As you compact your layers, you're going to be aiming for your holes. So your base coat's going to go down all over it. Let every single step dry, and then just more and more you're going to be aiming for the center of the big holes that you've got, where your lightest areas of paint are going to appear on your final paint job. Okay, so dampening pad in shot. This is the same brush that I put my base coats down with. So I've given it a little bit of a clean. So it's even still got a very small amount of gold fleck in it. That's absolutely fine. What we're going for is this Ghostbuster. Now you want it wet enough to leave, but not too much of it on the brush. So even though there's quite a bit in the top 2 millimeters, it's not inside the brush. And then you're just going to go at your model, and you're not rewarded for subtlety here either. And do not avoid your edges. You need to go up to, including, and over and beyond your edges. Otherwise it'll look like you tried to paint within the shape. You're not painting it like it's a panel, you're painting it like it's been taken from a huge piece of rock. So your edges are extending beyond the edges of the piece. Just keep imagining that. Now, stipple it down and then let it dry. You can use a hairdryer if you want, or something like that. But it's really hard to tell when it's dry, so just dry it more than you think you need to. If you don't let it dry, you'll find that particularly if you're using a weaker color like this Ghostbuster, you just won't end up getting that coverage that you need. So I'm using a nice chunky brush that's resilient, and I've only got my paint on the tip. The brush isn't getting damaged, but we're able to do fairly aggressive work on this. It's all going fine. This is, you can see this area here that needs to dry. Okay, now you don't have quite as much control over this as you would like, but that's kind of part and parcel of the technique. I'm going to add a little bit of ivory in there. This ivory is much stronger than the Ghostbuster, so I don't need much to affect the colour quite a lot. And then what you're trying to do, if possible, is those larger sections, you're trying to make sure you get some within that. I'm just going to mix on my palette, take it back to that Ghostbuster a bit. You might find as you go, it goes darker and darker, closer to your first colour rather than the second that you're on. That's normal, it's just mixing inside the brush. Again, let it dry, repeat. A little bit more. Once you've hit up those sections and let them dry, importantly, make sure you get everywhere on the piece if at all possible. Just a little bit of water to help it leave. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pinch my brush to make it more resilient and squeeze those bristles into a smaller area, and I'm going full aggro. It's especially useful for edges, but you can wedge this in at 45 degrees and it'll get right close, well, as close as you can manage up to the edges. This is as brutal as a brush can be, and also this really helps the brush not get damaged by using a very aggressive process, so it's a fantastic tip. Time for a little bit of white. Now we're going to be mixing the white sparingly on the palette where our last colour was, and inside our brush where we've got those other colours. We've still got residue of the Ghostbuster, even our base coat in there, so it's not a pure white by any means, but it is lighter than we've been. Maybe a bit too subtle. That is far too better than going in with like thick white paint or anything. Right, last chances for some aggressive edging. Somebody cute's got that on a t-shirt, hasn't he? All right, we're going to dry it and then grand reveal. Okay, the moment of truth. This bit's kind of cool because you just don't know what's happened, and we cross our fingers and we hope. But yeah, let's see. Try and if you keep your baby wipe stretched out, you might get multiple uses out of it. If you leave it loose, you'll be more likely to tear it to bits. You can get a few goes out of the same one, and sometimes there's bits that have just got a good pattern to them that you'd like to be able to use. All right, how have we done? Try and get everything off, like upside down, so it's not going to hook over an edge or something, and just yank it off. And then from whichever side you've got the most, like the biggest thickness of threads, which is here, take it from that side. Oh no, our coolest bit is on a trim. All right, we just got to pull the fluff off, and then we've got a little bit of enhancing to do. This one's not gone as well as the last one. I think that's because it's a slightly harder shaped piece, but we still do have the right kind of vibe that we want going on there. Final steps of the painting of the marble, very, very simple. Whatever your base coat color was, you're going to add black to it, and you're going to stipple that within the areas where your base coat color is still showing. So like the green will stipple a black mix with green, the red will stipple a black mix with red. And then on your lightest areas, where you've gone up through ivory or whatever, you're going to go to pure white, and you're going to stipple in the center of those areas. I chose to stipple because it made the pattern random. Just make sure that you keep rotating your brush or resetting your brush so you don't have like the same pattern of stipples kind of repeated all over your model. So how do we enhance this? Number one, we're not finished with the painting. And what we're going to do now is we're going to stipple highlights in the lightest areas, and we're going to stipple darker shadows in the darkest areas. So our green mixed with black, and we're going to use pure white here. You can paint it or stipple it with a dry brush, whatever you're comfortable with. So for the white, that would look like just carefully going in. It's such a shame, that bit's so cool. least we got some of it. All right, clean the brush. We definitely don't want to be stippling grey on if that's not our intent, which it isn't. I'm going to get a little bit of black. Mix it with our green sparingly. I'm being really careful how much my brush is touching this. Do not need much of the black especially. Even took too much. Test it over something that's a similar colour to our piece. Keep topped up on my moisture. And this is to put variations in sections that are too flat. That is it. Final rule, extremely important. Do not judge it here. Finish your piece. Put your trim on, do your rivets. We've got an excellent video on gold trim, which I'd really recommend you follow. There's some tips in that about kind of going around the edges with null oil and some other stuff. And it goes through sequentially using these washes, the classics, in the right order. And you just vary the proportions, how much you want next to your rivets or whatever. And you can even do chaos or good guys stuff with the same sequence. You just do more of the softer colors or more of the darker colors, depending if you're good or evil. Finishing steps. For the second time or third time in the tutorial, do not judge your mini until your trim is not even base coated, just completed. Right? You won't see this as separate from the area around it while it's kind of blending into it. At the very least, just paint it black so you can look at your marble in separation, separated from its surrounding areas. But ideally, we've got some tutorials for this. I'll make sure they're linked at the end and down below. You want to use null oil to separate your trim, and you want to finish your trim to a good standard, make it nice and shiny. It's 30K, it's got to be shiny, right? So do all of that stuff and then judge it. First though, varnish it. Marble is shiny. We're not going to be painting highlights on this like it's army painting. We don't have time for that. I don't have the skill. Just varnish it, it's easier. Satin or gloss, airbrush from a can is fine. I used it from a can monitor and varnish. Whatever you want, just get it down all over your area, then you're done. As normal, even with a rushed one, I haven't gone from brown base, it's just over black, it's not a great gold. This is already kind of added up to show you that it was more successful than I thought it was actually. It's always good, before you kind of write something else off as a partial failure, I reckon we're good. Look at that, that's all right. Nice. I don't know if this shows up, but it's actually done the inside of those grills as marble. Okay. Like I said, we do have a very, very popular video on gold trim. So I would absolutely recommend checking it out for the sequence and the reasoning behind it. What I'm doing for now though is, because this is like a good guy's gold, I'm gonna try and keep it quite soft, not got those harsh chaos transitions like we did one of in that video. Popping down my soft sepia, and it's going to bunch itself around any details like the rivets, which is really, really useful. If you want to highlight the edges of a section, you dab in the middle and the wash won't go to the edges, and you will get yourself a cheaty natural edge highlight. That's in our 10 rules video. Super useful trick. All right, that's already doing some work. Sparingly, very important, because it is quite a different color. Now I'm going to follow our own guidelines, so this is going to go within any of the sections we just put down. This shouldn't be touching any areas that we didn't touch for the last step. It's just going to add a little bit of richness in the middle. Dab, 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 dab. There's a reason I'm using a 3 here. It's about as wide as the sections that I'm dabbing. So cheaty. Time to tie a bow around this. Please, when you see me dipping from the pot, don't assume that I'm putting a lot of paint on the brush. Especially from the Citadel ones, you can actually get a really good degree of control on getting the minimal amount, and that's really useful. All right, super soft Series D time. Start somewhere safe, just hitting those edges. And then when you've adjusted to the brush and you're confident, then we can go elsewhere. I'll do the same with a tiny bit of silver added and we'll be good to go. Only go for that middle section hitting the rivets once you're really confident. I'm using the angle to try and make sure I don't hit the marbled areas. See that smear of silver on my palette? That is enough. Mix it in my gold and with my brush that's already got the gold in it. You can always put a final sepia over this if you want to kind of rein it back. There we go. So I've just given it a quick varnish. You can use that from a can or airbrush it, whatever you like. And we're going to do the final touch, which will be one super quick silver and gold edge highlight. Going to take no time at all. Big brush, and these have got quite nice sharp edges, so I wouldn't expect this to cause any issues. Just get that 45-degree angle. Egg's doing its work, of course. And make sure that any areas like this you don't poke too far. Go just far enough to hit the bit that you need and no further. And then realize that you completely missed that section for the second time. Wonderful. All right, we are done. How did we do? Was that helpful? Again, keep those comments coming down below. Let us know what you would like to see next. I've mentioned a few different techniques in this, so I'll just quickly run through tutorials we've got that'll help back them up. We've got one on glazing, if you want to know how to do that. Like if you've gone too far to white or too dark or something like that, you can really easily fix it. Just need to make sure you don't obscure your paint. That's going to be particularly of use if you've got like a lighter marble and you went too light, so you've got nowhere to go with your highlights. Quickly just glaze the entire thing back down or selectively, then you can stipple your white over it. It's got a glazing video. We've got some really good ones on gold trim. One very popular one, and we've got a recent video on how to do trim any metallic color with the Cathay models, including like a very cool bronze. That's super fast as well. That one doesn't even involve washes. And then make sure that you use your non-oil dabbing just to separate your trim from the marble. You got to have a clear, clean separation between the two or they'll blend into each other. You could put dirt there if you want it to be dirty, but you just need one thing to end and another thing to begin, and that'll really help kind of sell it. That is it. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully my editing was all right, and enjoy putting this to use on your Horus Heresy models. The brushes that I've used in this are of course ours, and they're available below. Great way to support the channel. I'll catch you in the next video.